What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Powhana Friday, July 31st, 2020. Get to the end of the week. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. It's been a heck of a week, and I don't know about you, but I'm really kind of tired here. So let's get right on into it. This being Friday, of course, we have the lovely Lady Claire will be joining us in hour number 2. So I'm going to do the news for about half an hour here. Then we'll open the phone lines. Then the Lady Claire will join us for the second hour, and we'll open the phone lines in the bottom half of that hour as well. So let's get right on into it. A lot of stuff going on. Apparently, up in Portland, the Democrats have surrendered and agreed to the government terms to stop riots. Now, somebody commented the other day, if this was a peaceful protest, why did they have to negotiate for a surrender, for a ceasefire? So, anyway. Now, a local TV station tested out the voting by mail, and it didn't go very well. Apparently, a lot of the ballots got lost in the post office system. This was CBS News decided to test it. They sent 100 mock ballots simulating 100 voters in locations all across Philadelphia to a post office box. After some delays, 97 arrived. In a close election, 3% could be pivotal, especially in what's expected to be a record year for mail-in voting. So people are looking at this mail-in voting. They're not too happy about it. It's not well thought out. It's wide open to fraud. Trump is right about that. It's wide open to fraud here. Now, Trump is out there attacking mail-in voting, saying we must know the results the same night. Now, this is kind of a very, very weak argument, because there was never any requirement that the results of a national election be known that very night. Certainly when this country was started, it could be weeks before people found out the results of the presidential election. Even as late as Dewey beats Truman, it wasn't until the morning after that everybody had the results of the election. So it's nice to have it the same night for the election junkies, but it's not mandated. I would trade speed for accuracy. I don't know about you, but I would trade speed for accuracy on this one. Anyway, Donald Trump has once again taken aim at the notion of having all voters cast mail-in ballots in the 2020 presidential election, suggesting that via that route, the outcome may not be known until even years later. Now, he's talking about, what's going to happen if people say, my vote got lost, it came back to me in the mail. We had so many people who said they were mailing their ballots, and we got way too many in or not enough came in. It is wide open to fraud. Nobody has to show an ID. Nobody even has to sign anything. It's just take the ballot, check off the boxes, mail it in. And anybody can do that on behalf of anybody else. There's no identification trail whatsoever. So no wonder the Democrats are in love with this. Okay, apparently local cops up in Portland have taken over guarding the courthouse from federal agents sent in by Trump ahead of their withdrawal as hundreds of demonstrators gather for a 64th night. I hope it stays peaceful. I don't know. There are too many people who want this to keep going to violence. And a good example comes from Seattle, where Mayor Jenny Durkin and Police Chief Carmen Best had to hold a press conference Wednesday to announce an investigation launched into the riots which took place over the weekend. One aspect of the weekend's events the police chief discussed was a van that was seen following a group of violent rioters, and apparently the van was loaded with weapons and armor. So who's paying for all this stuff? Who's paying to rent the van? Who's paying to make these weapons? This is all homemade weapons and armor. And don't forget the trick. They're talking about commercial-grade fireworks. How the heck are they getting their hands on commercial-grade fireworks? It's hard enough getting your hands on consumer-grade fireworks. But they're getting commercial-grade fireworks and, adding nails in there to turn them into basically hand grenades. So there's an interesting little article that came out from shtfplan.com, and they're absolutely right here. Americans seem to be flipping out all over the country for little or no reason. Micro golf, bagels, people are becoming violently angry over very trivial things, and you never know when someone might erupt. One moment you could be talking to a seemingly mild-mannered middle-aged woman, and the next moment you're dealing with a raging Karen. And we're not singling out women in particular, because we're seeing the violent riots, being carried out by men. But Americans of all ages and backgrounds are suddenly going nuts. And what we're experiencing so far is just the beginning. Now, maybe it's the stress of the COVID shut-ins. People are getting cabin fever, which is a very, very real problem. If you're shut up for too long, furniture starts talking to you. Have you ever been to the Disney? They had the Country Bear Jamboree, and they've got these stuffed heads up on the wall of the set that sing and talk with the people. That's actually a reference to cabin fever. The Alaskan gold miners and hunters who would have to winter in their entire cabin and just stay in the cabin all winter long, and after a while they'd start going crazy from the solitary confinement, as it were. And it's not like they couldn't walk outside for a minute or two, but that really didn't help. Maybe that's what's going on here, where people have just been crammed into their homes and kept in their homes for so long. Even with TV and radio and FaceTime and internet, they're starting to go just a little bit wacko. Now, a while back, Trader Joe announced they were going to start dumping some of their trade name for products like Trader Ming's, Trader Jose, and Arabian Joe products. And this was in response to a petition saying, these are racist names. Now, I've never heard anybody complain about Ming of Mongo, you know, coming from Asia or anything like that. Well, Ming came from Mongo, but anybody coming from Asia complaining about it. Trader Joe has announced it's changed its mind. It is going to keep Trader Ming's, Trader Jose, and Arabian Joe products because customers understand the names are tongue-in-cheek. It's just all in good fun, and nobody's trying to hurt anybody or be racist in any kind of a way. We have to recapture our sense of humor, our willingness, you know, to just have a little bit of fun. And it's not meant to hurt anybody. It's just meant to lighten things up a little bit, which we certainly need to do around here. If you look at that earlier story about people going nuts and flipping out, they don't have a release. For all the stress and tension that's being put all over us, we don't have a release for it. We can't go outside and play handball. We can't go out and, you know, play sports with our friends and neighbors to try and get some of that stress out. It's just building and building and building and building. And that's why we're seeing alcohol consumption go up. We're seeing pill consumption go up. There's only so much the human body can take before it starts showing, you know, fraying around the edges as you were. Okay, let's talk about COVID-19. That's still out there. And apparently another video has emerged. This time Dr. Lisa Koch, Koche, MD, is speaking out about the coronavirus, mass censorship, and the true benefits of hydroxychloroquine. And so doctors are starting to really speak out and say, look, there's a real cure out here. We know Big Pharma doesn't want a cheap, unpatentable cure. They want a very costly, patentable treatment that you do over and over and over again every month for the rest of your life, because that's how they maximize their profitability. And that's what this big fight over hydroxychloroquine is all about. It's all about money. It's not about your health. It's not about curing the disease versus treating the disease. It's all about maximizing profits. Now, one of the problems we've had with COVID-19 all along is a lack of reliable information. Everybody's got a different point of view. And the latest embarrassment here is that over in Great Britain, they had this do-it-yourself nasal swab kit. And apparently, it has a high failure rate. This was rolled out in Matt Hancock's testing drive. And apparently, tens of thousands of Brits were wrongly told they were free of the virus because of this do-it-yourself kit, which fails to detect the disease. Now, the Russian flag carrier Aeroflot will demand foreign visitors provide negative COVID-19 tests before flying to Russia. They're not going to wait for you to actually get there. When you are getting ready to board the flight, wherever in the world that you are picking the flight up, you have to have a doctor's certificate that you're free of the disease. You have to fill out a bunch of paperwork, and the test has to be performed within 72 hours of departure. Okay? Given the demand of tests, that could be a little bit tricky, so you're going to have to book everything ahead, not just the flight reservation, but the COVID-19 test. Now, flights to and from Russia are set to resume on Saturday. The first routes to open connect with Britain, Turkey, and Tanzania. So we'll see what happens with that one here. Let's see. Foreign citizens planning to fly into Russia, including transit passengers, are required to provide a negative COVID-19 PCR test result in order to check in and board the flight. Passengers must be tested within 72 hours of the flight departure. They'll also be required to complete a special form during the flight here. Now, Dr. Fauci keeps moving the goalposts here, and now he's saying the face masks aren't good enough, which a lot of people have been saying they're not really good enough anyway. So now he's out there saying you've got to wear eye goggles and a face shield. So you've got the mask, you've got the goggles over the eyes, and then you've got the complete plastic face shield, you know, down to protect yourself. That's a lot of money multiplied by the number of citizens. That's going to make a lot of people who own stock in the face shield and eye goggle companies very, very happy indeed. You realize that we have shut down a $22 trillion economy because of a virus with a 0.1% death rate. Doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense here. All right, let's talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. Some of her documents are being unsealed. There are allegations against Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and all kinds of others. Apparently, Bill Clinton stayed at Jeffrey Epstein's villa on Orgy Island. He was witnessed in the company of 2 very young girls. And somebody said, "What is he doing here?" And Epstein apparently laughed and said, "Well, Bill owes me a favor." Now, how he repays the favor by being on the island, we don't know. Maybe sucking him in deeper to the blackmail. All right, Biden is out there trying to make it look like he's running for president of the United States of America. And apparently he had this live stream event marred by technical issues where the audio was just completely dead. But apparently only 247 people were watching when Biden attempted to read a teleprompter in his basement. Here is a funny article. Well, it's not really funny, haha, it's funny, weird. From Zero Hedge talking, has settled for Biden become the official Democratic campaign slogan for 2020? And it seems that there really is a campaign. It's not a joke. It's settleforbiden.org. And apparently it is a campaign that says, yeah, we understand our candidate sucks, but he's still better than Trump. We'll see how well that works. Okay. Just looking at something that came in here. Okay, the appeals court has granted Judge Sullivan's request for a rehearing in the Flynn mandamus case and vacates the order dismissing the charges. I don't know why Sullivan continues to fight this thing out. It's just making himself look bad, but he's obviously been given his orders that they have to get Flynn on something, or it's going to be very obvious the whole thing was just a railroad job to begin with. So in this case, the full appeals court is going to be ruling on this, and they're basically going to go back. They're going to rehear the case. This, I think, gives Flynn a chance to go on in and replea the case. And this time he's going to say not guilty. Because the only thing Sullivan had, the only thing that Sullivan wanted to move forward to sentence him on was that Flynn had pled guilty originally. So if they're going to rehear the case and Flynn pleads not guilty, they're going to have to make the case he did something wrong. And they can't do it, or they would have done it by now. So Sullivan is flogging a dead horse to the point where it almost doesn't look like a horse anymore. All right, let's talk about the international news here. The other day we were talking about how Iran had practiced attacking a United States Nimitz-type carrier to be followed by missile launches from silos. And it looks like Iran is preparing to counter a possible U.S. attack or aggression against Iran. Now, Iran is the leading Middle East proponent of peace, stability, and cooperative relations. It hasn't attacked another nation in centuries, threatening none now except in retaliation against aggression by a foreign power if it occurs, which is the right of all countries. You attack my country, I have a right to fight back. It's even in the UN's Charter, Article 51. Nothing in the present Charter shall impair the inherent right of individuals or collective self-defense if an armed attack occurs against a member of the United Nations until the Security Council has taken measures necessary to maintain international peace and security. If the United States aggresses against Iran, Iran has every right under international law to fight back any way that they can. Now, since the establishment of the Islamic Republic in 1979 ended a generation of U.S.-installed fascism, Republicans and Democrats have been at war in Iran by other means because our government carries a grudge. I mean, look at Cuba. How long ago Castro kicked out the U.S. puppet Batista, and still the embargo is there, and still they're trying to undermine Cuba. In a lot of ways, our foreign policy branch behaves like a spoiled child. I want what I want. You won't give it to me. We're enemies for life. Plus 50. Now, the U.S. Navy came out with a meme responding to that mock-up of a Nimitz carrier, saying that Iran is experts at building ships to be targets. And by so doing, I think, betray a certain degree of insecurity on their part. The fact of the matter is that in the age of advanced anti-ship missiles, carriers are targets. They can't maneuver that quick. If you can get past those fleet auxiliaries, which are basically aluminum above the waterline, they're as fragile as a Christmas tree ornament. I remember when the Iraq War was first cranking up, there was this big stink where the Joint Chiefs called in a Navy admiral and said, you know, what is the lifespan of our carrier battle groups if we go to war? And the admiral said, oh, about 3 weeks maybe. Maybe a little longer if you keep them in port. They're outdated. It's just like World War II, when the Navy went into World War II convinced that the battleship was the mainstay of winning war at sea, only to find out that the carriers had basically usurped that title. And it's going to be this way with the smart weapons. They're going to go in fighting with the aircraft carrier thinking that's the premier projector of power, and I think they're going to find themselves somewhat embarrassed by that. Anyway, the U.S. is expanding sanctions against Iran to target their nuclear, military, and ballistic missile programs. This is coming from Pompeo. And the sanctions are reimposed back in 2018 after Trump announced a unilateral withdrawal from the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the Iran nuclear deal or the P5+1, and reminding the rest of the world that any agreements you make with the United States of America probably are not worth the paper they're written on. Anyway, yesterday, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the Trump administration would expand its metal sanction against Iran to cover 22 additional materials used in various Iranian programs. Okay, Pompeo said, today the State Department is identifying 22 specific materials used in connection with Iran's nuclear, military, or ballistic missile programs. Those who knowingly transfer such materials to Iran are now sanctionable pursuant to Section 1245 of the Uranium Freedom and Counterproliferation Act. Now, something you need to keep in mind. First of all, Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. Nobody has found any evidence to support that at all. Iran, under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which they have signed and ratified, has the right to peaceful uses of nuclear technology. Now, the United States is also a signer and ratifier of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which obligates it to assist Iran in its pursuit of peaceful uses of nuclear technology. So in refusing to do so and using sanctions and other coercive means to try and force Iran to surrender their rights under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, it is the United States that is in violation of international law, not Iran. Of course, by this time, looking at how the United States has treated Iran, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, ad infinitum, we know who the bad guy is as we rush toward the Third World War. We're the bad guys. 50 years from now, the world will look on the Stars and Stripes with the same revulsion and shock that our generation looked on the swastika. I really believe that's what the future is going to hold, that we're going to be seen as the bad guy. We're going to out-Nazi the Nazis. What a shame. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. We'll be back after these few words. And welcome back to our show here, and a reminder that Republic Broadcasting and WhatReallyHappened.com are in the middle of a perpetual fundraiser. Actually, we're trying to basically overhaul our equipment, which is wearing out, and it does have to be replaced. We can only keep it alive for so long. So the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you, and I thank you. All right, before we get back into the news here, over the commercial break, I was taking a look at my email, and I just got my second, in the space of a couple of hours, phishing attack based on Amazon. And the first one said that my Amazon account was being canceled because somebody, there was suspected fraudulent activity, click here to reactivate. And of course, that link goes to anywhere but Amazon. And this other one here is saying that my debit card is being hit for $300 for Amazon Prime Premium subscription, which we've never signed up for, I might add. And of course, there's a link there to, go ahead and cancel here or call this phone number to cancel. So be very, very careful. Somebody's using Amazon for a bunch of phishing attacks right now. And, it's like the wild, wild west out there. And I'm not talking about people who are asking questions about hydroxychloroquine. I'm talking about outright criminal behavior and a government that is absolutely powerless or unwilling to do anything about it. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're close enough to the bottom of the hour. We're going to open up the phone lines now, and we're going to start with Dan in Washington State. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for taking the call. Just real quick on the mail-in voting. We've been doing it in Washington for about 6 years now. We had our own. We had a voting scandal. If you look up Dino Rossi versus Greg Wire. Basically, Dino won the vote. They had to recount, and he actually won, but the courts gave it to the Democrat anyway.
Yeah.
But last election we were all whining about the Diebold computer voting machines. Remember that? Oh, there's no paper trail. George Soros or some Canadian company programs the voting machine. So I don't like computer voting. I like the good thing about mail-in voting is there is a paper trail. So, I'm kind of with you.
But that paper trail doesn't go back to the individual, or maybe it does in Washington State, but the way it's being proposed now is there's no identification. I mean, you can write any name that you want on that mail-in ballot, and there's no way to verify that that's who the person really is.
In Washington, if you're a registered voter, you get it in the mail. You get the ballot and a little booklet. And it's kind of nice because you get like a month to read through the voter booklet. You can vote. You just send it in the secure envelope and send it back. So I don't know how they track that with a social security number or however they track, registration to vote.
Well, I mean, the last time you used have you used the vote by mail system?
Yeah, I have for the past 3-4 years.
Okay, and did you use your social security number?
I don't remember that part. I'm registered to vote, so I think you have to show when you registered. And then you get it's like a pre-printed envelope for you as a registered voter at your address.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, let's say hypothetically, Dan, if I print up an envelope and I print up a ballot and I fill it out for Joe Biden and I say, I'm Dan from Washington State, how do they know I'm lying?
Well, that could happen, but if if I voted and I would say, where's my ballot, and raise problems with that. So it's pretty secure. I mean, it's just, when we all used to go down to the fire station, we used to do the same thing. You fill out a bubble sheet. It's basically, a bubble sheet. It's the same thing, but we had problems even going to the fire station. Like if you look at that election, I mean, the ballots from this station were lost.
I know. Election fraud is part of our history, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean we should be accepting of it now. Our election system is an absolute joke. And if you go to whatreallyhappened.com, in the upper left, right under my hideously outdated photograph, there's an article there, How to Have Honest Elections. And I suggest you take a look at that, because ever since I put that up there, I've gotten emails from other countries saying, this is close to the system that we use, and it tends to be pretty accurate and honest. It's not perfect, but it's a lot closer than what we've got. Okay.
Yeah, I'll check that out. And I mean, I think, you know, unless you go biometrically, and have like computer biometric,
No,
like
you don't need any of that
with like
stuff.
a paper receipt.
You don't need
Right.
any of that
Well,
stuff.
I'll just say paper.
When
Paper
somebody
ballots are
shows up to vote,
anything you guys are using.
when somebody shows up to vote, they show their ID, okay? Because all of that process of verifying the ID has already been done. It's like the TSA star on the driver's license. We're going to take a break for commercial. Thank you for the call, Dan. We'll be right back. And welcome back to our show here. And since Dan brought the subject up, I want to talk about our election system right now. There is nothing wrong with having to show your ID to vote. You have to show your ID to get cigarettes. You have to show your ID to get alcohol. You have to show your ID if the police ask to see it when you've been pulled over for a traffic infraction. That ID is there so that everybody knows who you are. Now, when I went to get my Indiana State driver's license, I had to show my passport, my birth certificate, a prior driver's license, all kinds of things to document I am who I say I am. And my driver's license is marked with all the little icons that say it's okay for TSA to put me on an airplane, that I'm not a terrorist. I'm annoying, obnoxious, and irritating, but I'm not a terrorist. So that's an adequate ID, because you can't fake those in huge numbers without incurring a large amount of cost. And that's really the idea. Yes, you can fake one ID to steal one vote, but can you imagine having to go through that with all the codes and everything that are on the existing? So keep it simple. The more complex you make it, I mean, Dan was talking about biometrics and all the rest of it. The more complicated you make the election system, the easier it is to cheat it. Now, for those of you who have not seen it, there's a documentary HBO put out called Hacking Democracy. I hope they put it out again, or if it's out there available on HBO On Demand. You've got to watch this thing, because our elections are a joke. This is the one time that we, the people, get to exercise a modicum of influence and control over the government. And if you can't be bothered to get out there and get to the polling place, you know, then too bad for you. Don't complain about how bad things are in this country if you don't get out there and vote. That's our last bastion of peacefully changing the country to suit we, the people, as opposed to the oligarchs. Now, we know cheating is reality out there. You have to use your vote in your name, or somebody's going to use your name to vote against what you would want. This is very, very important that you do it. And don't listen to all the polls that say Biden is going to win, so you Trump voters ought to stay at home, because that's one of the oldest dirty tricks that they play. Oh, we got to discourage the Trump voters. We got to make them stay at home. Oh, you're going to get COVID-19 if you go to the polling place. Be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. Stay home, don't vote. God, the Democrats are desperate this year. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here. Joseph in North Carolina. Hello, Joseph. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, I was just wanting to call up and talk about Bill Gates, because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but he has heavy ties to this whole coronavirus thing. I mean, yes. He's a major funder for the World Health Organization. I mean, he had a part in the inception of Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, and you know, in the past 10 years since he's talked about his decade of vaccines, his wealth has gone from about 50 billion to over 100 billion, and still rising, because he has a lot of his nonprofit and stuff has a lot tied into the vaccine manufacturers, which are heavily pushing vaccines right now. Anyways, I was wanting to call and say that, you know, August 3rd, we're having an International Expose Bill Gates Day. And I was encouraging everybody to take part of that. You know, go to your local store, maybe make some flyers, you know, hand out information on Bill Gates. Maybe go on Facebook or whatever and kind of talk about him, put some good videos up. I know James Corbett has some great documentaries on Bill Gates right now. And the reason I think this is so important is because he does have such heavy ties to everything that's going on. And if we can expose him, I believe we can wake up a lot of people to what's going on. And, you know, this whole coronavirus thing really ties into the international banking elite and all their little puppets. And if you can expose the coronavirus thing, you can expose, you can really show these people's hands. We can wake up a lot of people. So again, I encourage everybody. August 3rd, it's the National Expose or the International Expose Bill Gates Day. You know, wherever you can do it, expose him. All right, Mike. Well, thanks for letting me on. I hope you have a great day.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot here. And I find myself more thinking along the lines suggested by Peter in Los Angeles, that this maintaining the fear of coronavirus is a ploy by the Democrats to get people to stay at home and vote by mail so that their ballots can be intercepted and altered on the way to the counting places. Because, I mean, that does happen. Dan in Washington was saying boxes of ballots disappear. There was a book called Vote Scam by the Collier brothers, and I think the first 6 chapters are available online to read for free if you want to. But yeah, election fraud is a reality in this country, and that doesn't mean we should sit quietly and accept it now, especially when it's this obvious and open that that's what's going on here. Anyway, we're going to go to another call. This one in David in Boston. Hello, David. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Michael. Yeah, I happened to read the Collier Brothers book, The Stealing of America, down in Brevard County. The one time I went down to Florida with the old man, and I had that book, and I read it in Brevard County. So it was just a coincidence or a God incidence. I don't know whether it was odd or whether it was God. But anyways, the reason I called is I want to just say in no uncertain, unambiguous terms that I renounce and I reject and I condemn Dr. Fauci and his full man flu. I don't need Dr. Fauci to vac assassinate me to fulfill his Georgia Guidestones agenda to vac assassinate us. I want Dr. Fauci to take his full man flu along with the gates of hell and go back to hell. You go to hell, Fauci, you communist Chinese agent. Like Heckenright says, he's the one that lit the world on fire, and now he's trying to be the fire chief. I condemn you, Fauci, you filthy communist white trash traitor.
Well,
That's
listen,
all I have
David.
to say, Michael.
Yeah, don't sugarcoat it like that. Tell us how you really feel.
Okay. Yeah, he's not going to vac assassinate me. I know about their Georgia Guidestone agenda. Yeah. So, boy, oh boy, you know, it's like we have a new. It's like we have a new stealth president that the communist Chinese has stealthily. He's eclipsed President Trump. Trump is way down here, and Fauci is way up here. We got like a new Chinese Mandarin president. That's sickening, Michael. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of that SOB.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You know, how long are we going to put up with these damn race traders? Another one. If I can continue my rant, another one I'm sick of, Michael. If you can bear with me, and I just got done listening to him earlier today, is I call him Rahm Emanuel's poster child. You know who I call Rahm Emanuel's poster child? That's
No.
Alex Jones. Alex Jones. He's the biggest fraud. He is the big. Anybody that keeps following him is a damn fool. He's a Judas goat. He's a race trader. And I'll just close with this, Michael. That SOB, Alex Jones, is always talking about the globalists. But he'll never whisper one word about the real threat, which is the Kabbalists. Not the globalists, the Judeo-anti-Christian Kabbalists. And last year he was saying he had the New World Order we're on the march, and the New World Order's on the run and everything. Hey, he's Rahm Emanuel's poster child. He never had a crisis that he didn't take advantage of. You know, make the most of every crisis that comes along. He's Rahm Emanuel's poster. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And Michael, Texans are not real. Texans are not fooled by that fast-talking son of a bitch. He could talk his way across Texas without tripping over his tongue even once. He's the fastest talker in Texas. That's because the reason he's the fastest talker is he's the biggest con man, the biggest charlatan. That's why he's the fastest talker in Texas. Okay?
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, thanks for letting me vent, Michael, because...
All right, well, that was a healthy vent. No question about that one. Okay, thanks for the phone call. We're going to let you go, David. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Now, Syrian military forces have discovered a large number of human body organs preserved in chloroform and intended for trafficking while conducting cleanup operations in the country's northwestern province of Idlib. So it's getting really nasty out there. Well, you know, wars take a lot of money. That's why you'll find so many of these organizations involved in organ trafficking and drugs and, you know, the sex trade. Anything that generates large amounts of money quickly is useful for war. Anyway, a local source requesting anonymity told Syria's official news agency Sana that a doctor affiliated to foreign-sponsored Takfiri militants had transformed a house in the village of Al-Gadfa into a medical laboratory where many packages of human organs, including eyes, hearts, lungs, livers, and kidneys, were being kept in chloroform solution. I didn't realize chloroform was that effective a preservative, but I guess it must be so. Anyway, the report added that the packages were marked with male and female names, while there were records inside the house containing the names of people with descriptions of their general health conditions. We're going to go back to the phones to Joe in California. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I wanted to urge all the listeners to check out Ron Paul's Liberty Report. He and Daniel McAdams have had some really good presentations on this whole virus. And there was an excellent interview with Del Bigtree, in fact, who was kicked off of YouTube yesterday, yes, or the day before you had advised, with Michelle Malkin. Live interview that was on Michelle Malkin's YouTube channel. So I urge the listeners to check those channels out. Mike, I wanted to ask you, especially in light of what I heard from Del Bigtree, and I've heard this before about the attempts to manufacture a coronavirus vaccine. Would you take the vaccine? I don't know if you ever said this on the air.
No.
You wouldn't? Okay, because our family doctor, we asked our family doctor, and he said he wouldn't take it for at least a year after it came out, after it was given to the first people. He would want to wait and see if there are any, serious adverse effects, at least a year or 2 years.
Well, I'm still remembering what happened back in 1976 with the swine flu vaccine campaign.
Yeah, I saw that report on 60 Minutes. Yeah, it's all over YouTube.
Yeah.
Outrageous. I mean, more people actually died from the vaccine than died from that swine flu in 76.
50 times as many.
Right, and I think you mentioned the swine flu vaccine that was given, I think, in 2009 or 10?
Yes.
Had the same result.
No, in 2009, there was a problem with Guillain-Barré syndrome, and basically the Tamiflu that they put out there and made a lot of money on turned out to be about as effective as acetaminophen.
Oh, I see. Okay. Mike, last thing, yesterday I actually mentioned that Stalin was a globalist. He wasn't, as Mark has been saying, he wasn't a globalist, but he was still a monster. But I hope Mark did call. I just checked in now. I hope he called. I wanted to find out what his YouTube channel was. And I hope you had heard from Mike from Brazil. I don't know if you had heard from him yet.
Yeah, Mike from Brazil actually called in at the end of yesterday's show, but we were not able to get him on the air because we ran out of time, and I'm hoping he's going to call in again today.
Okay, that's great. Okay, Mike, you guys have a great weekend.
All right, thanks an awful lot. Same to you here. Now, the Palestinian resistance movement, Hamas, has warned Israel of the consequences of its further encroachment on the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in East Jerusalem, Al-Quds. Hamas made the remarks in an official statement yesterday that marks Arafah Day, a major occasion on the Islamic calendar. It called on Palestinians to rally en masse towards the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I keep thinking back to that Ridley Scott movie, The Kingdom of Heaven, and where Balian is telling Salahuddin, if you try and take the city by force, I'll just burn it all down. And Salahuddin says, I'm wondering if that might not be the best thing for it. I'm paraphrasing loosely. But yeah, I mean, it's just this one place. It just drives men mad. And it's some of the most blood-soaked, most conquered ground anywhere on Earth. Okay, so getting on back here. Apparently, American pilots are still causing concern over the Black Sea. A Russian jet intercepts U.S. spy planes for the 4th time in 9 days. And it appears, though, the U.S. Air Force finds Russia's Black Sea particularly inviting. The Russian military has intercepted American jets on a long-haul trip for the 4th time in just over 1 week. Now, the Air Force seemingly could not decide who should be next to enjoy the scenic splendor of the Black Sea shoreline around 8,000 kilometers from home, where temperatures have hit the 90 degrees Fahrenheit this week, choosing to send 2 of its surveillance planes at the same time on Thursday to watch over the area. Could it be that American Top Guns are so determined to showcase the delights of the region that they are now insisting on bringing buddies along? However, the sightseeing plans were scuppered when the jets were promptly intercepted by a Russian Sukhoi 27 fighter jet, which was scrambled to escort the aerial targets approaching the nation's border. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here. Mark in North Carolina. Mark, hello. Welcome to the show. And what is the name of your YouTube channel? Mark, are you there?
Hello?
Hello. Okay, I can hear you now.
You hear me?
Yes,
okay,
you're on the air.
It's yeah, I know. I just heard what the guy was saying. It's Mark, M-A-R-K, my name. My last name is S-C-H-E-E-R. That's S-C-H, 2 E's and an R, Shear. And when you just search it on YouTube, and you'll see a picture of my ugly mug on there with a little circle on it, you know, and that's it. You're there.
All right, well, excellent. We'll have to have everybody look at that. So it's Mark Shear, S-C-H-E-E-R, on YouTube. And what else is on your mind today?
Basically about the masks again. You know, I just had to go to the store, and you know, and everybody's got it on. They got big signs in front there and all that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to I talked to various employees and stuff. I said, you know what? This isn't doing you any good. I have to wear this nonsense for 10 minutes or so. I mean, it's bad enough. But you guys got to wear this stuff for 8 hours, maybe more. You know, you're just hurting yourself. People got to get together and say, no, we're not going to do this. This is just I call it the Bill Gates muzzle. So, you know, people got to realize, man, they're not doing us any good. They want to hurt us. And again, I say, Dustin, if you're going to call, go ahead, man. Bring it on, buddy. Okay? Because you're wrong. All right? What you think
okay,
about
well, Mark, I got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. Back with more phone calls after these 2 words. Welcome back to our show here. And U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said the tide is turning in United States dealings with China, claiming that there is international support for American policies against Beijing. Well, I'm seeing a little of that from Great Britain and Australia, but not much else. And, you know, 5 million people saying the earth is flat does not make the earth flat. And so all the international partners of the United States saying China bad doesn't make China bad. Really what it comes down to. So Pompeo is still out there trying to sell this idea, you know, we can go after China because the rest of the world believes in us and they want us to go and take care of China. Okay, Mike, here's your rifle. Here's your Day-Glo jumpsuit. Here's your parachute. Go have fun. We'll call Beijing and tell them you're on your way to whip their butts all by yourself. Anyway, Pompeo did admit yesterday he was disappointed at the number of countries supporting China's new security law for Hong Kong. The top U.S. diplomat made the remarks while testifying before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. You see the Chinese Communist Party for what it is, the central threat of our time. No. Right now, the central threat to the entire world right now is the United States and its foreign policy. Pompeo is dreaming, absolutely dreaming here. Okay. Chinese bombers take to the skies above the South China Sea for high-intensity training. Everybody's getting ready for the shooting to start. The spike in tensions in the strategic waterway comes amid a broader multi-front rift in China-U.S. ties on issues ranging from Hong Kong and Taiwan to trade, technology transfer, and ideological questions. Xi'an H-6G and Xi'an H-6J strategic bombers have staged drills in the South China Sea, with the exercises including nighttime operations, long-range sorties, and simulated attack on sea targets. according to China's defense ministry. The drills, described by Defense Minister spokesman Colonel Ren, I'm probably going to butcher this, Guogiang, 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 as high-intensity training were characterized as routine operations aimed at improving naval aviation's combat readiness. It's very angering and frustrating to sit here and just watch the world move toward a new world war and not be able to do anything about it. It's very angering and very frustrating. Because to judge by the first two world wars, all the wrong people die in these things. Anyway, turning to the economic news, millions are going to lose their $600 a week unemployment boost within hours. It ends basically tonight. And apparently the White House and the Democrats failed to find a deal to keep it alive. And Congress has gone on recess for several weeks. So again, more people are going to be hurt because the politicians can't put down their differences and say, we've got to help these people. They pay the taxes, they vote for us. We got to do something to protect our phony baloney jobs. No. We've got to stand firm and stand against Trump. And what nonsense, what complete and utter nonsense. I'm beginning to think, royalty isn't such a bad idea. We got to take a break for station identification. We'll be back with the lovely Lady Claire after these few words. And aloha, welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this gorgeous creature sitting to the next to me is the lovely Lady Claire, who likes to share the final hour of our Friday shows with her unique perspective on the world. So what's the first thing you want to talk about today?
Well, it appears that partial lockdowns are expanding in Europe. New COVID-19 cases are climbing in China and also Hong Kong. Apparently, the U.S. has struck a $2.1 billion deal with GSK and Sanofi for a vaccine. UK is extending partial lockdown to 4 million people. Cases are climbing in China, Hong Kong, and Hong Kong has canceled September's vote.
I wonder if that's where Trump got his idea about November.
Interesting. And Australia's Victoria State sees second highest daily tally, and Argentina has seen a daily jump. And what we're seeing is apparently, Mike, a reemergence of this in Europe and Asia. And it's sort of beaten the heck out of investors, politicians, business owners, and taxpayers alike. And apparently last night, Boris Johnson, the UK's PM, had ordered a large swath of northern England to return to partial lockdown status. And they affect about 4 million people across the region. Now, if the UK seems a little bit trigger happy on this, there are reasons. Catalonia is seeing a serious resurgence of COVID-19, prompting local officials to issue new lockdown orders, while several European states issue travel restrictions or advisories targeting Spain, which has caused that country to grouse about the damage to its tourist industry. And I have to speculate. President Trump has mentioned that he's going to have the military roll out the COVID-19 vaccine.
Oh, boy.
Now, as a reasonable person, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. And I was talking with my sister-in-law today, who is an NP, a nurse practitioner. And when Mike had some troubles and was hospitalized for pneumonia back on Oahu, and I said, what can I do to keep him from getting sick again? He said, you can take the pneumonia jab. I went immediately to our local drugstore, which offer these, and took it. But what happens when the jabs become mandatory and get rolled out by the military? I'm kind of hoping that I can just stay under the radar as long as humanly possible and see what kind of side effects my brother and sister Americans may be experiencing. Because it looks to me, Mike, like they're going to just sort of roll over the human testing phase. Is that kind of the sense you're getting
I mean, they're
to?
making these billion-dollar deals with these companies before safety testing has even been done.
Yeah.
And there have already been a couple of stories floating around about how early versions of these vaccines are literally killing off all the monkeys they're being tested on. There's been a report of 2 human deaths so far.
Ouch.
That I can't track down, but
Okay.
that's the report.
Uh-huh.
Certainly, if these things are made mandatory, I want to wait until the very, very end of the line and
Yeah.
see, again, think back to 1976.
I
That
know.
swine flu vaccine was mandatory for all U.S. citizens. They stopped a quarter of the way through because the vaccine was killing more people than the flu was.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking
And those
of...
are taxpayers. We need them alive.
Oh, heavens, yes. And what has happened, there was a frontline ER doctor from a viral HCQ video got
hydroxychloroquine.
Got dropped from her job. And it was just days after the establishment, the medical establishment, medical industrial complex, if you will, via its big tech partners and liberal media propagandists, entirely disappeared a viral video of a dozen of doctors discussing their real-life experiences in treating COVID-19, and in some cases using the extremely dangerous, if you're to believe the mainstream media,
hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine. I dropped a Y there. I
Yes,
don't know
you
why.
did.
Oh, dear. And apparently, this woman is the founder of America's Frontline Doctors, Dr. Simone Gold, has been fired from her job because of supporting the use of this chemical as an emergency medical specialist in Los Angeles.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money. Hydroxychloroquine is inexpensive. It can't be patented. It is a cure versus a treatment.
Yeah.
That's really what I mean. There's literally billions of dollars on the line here.
What a scurrilous response to what these people had to say. And they spoke out because they believed that people honestly needed to hear the other side of this argument. Now, I know how long it takes to become an MD because we have one in our family, and to do that to this lady, I mean, that was horrific.
Yes.
Just horrific. Going back to Europe, apparently the Eurozone has had its worst GDP contraction in history. Apparently, the European zone economy contracted by 12.1% in the second quarter. The German, French, Spanish, and Italian economy contracted by 10.1%, 13.8%, 18.5%, and 12.4%, respectively. And it does not look like Europe is facing a V-shaped recovery. Mike, your thoughts?
Well, the V-shaped recovery was just wishful thinking to begin with because, it takes a while for an economy to build up. You can knock one down pretty quickly with a crash, but there's no way to get it to rebound that way. So the V-shaped recovery, was about as legitimate and valid as the service-based economy back in the 1980s when we lost our manufacturing. Anyway, we got a phone call waiting on the line here. So we're going to go to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Michael, good day to you and Claire. Y'all have a great weekend coming up. Now, what's on my mind, Mike? Do you remember Monday when you watched the William Barr hearing?
Yes.
You recall what one of the first things he said? He was talking about there's been 7,500 murders a year in the black community.
Yes.
But what he did not say on that hearing was there's now, we know one guy listens to statistics. So from what I'm getting, Mike, and I got to make clear of this, I'm not 100% sure, but I know Barr said 7,500. I looked at 1 year, I think it was 17. There was 8,300 murders in the black community. What nobody's talking about is the wounds. Over almost 6,500 were wounded last year, according to what I read. So you had William Barr said 7,500. We'll round it off for almost 8,000. Okay, 7,000 or whatever. But however, you also got 6,000 wounded, what are catastrophic wounds. A lot of them. The taxpayers in the country are paying for this. Okay, Mike. Let's get back, and I'm going to go on Corona in a minute, and I'll watch that. I'm like, oh my goodness. Barr didn't even get a chance to finish because they kept cutting him off, the demon rats.
Yes.
They kept cutting him off. They would not let the guy speak. So basically, he got that in there. He told them 7,500 in the Afro-American community are killing themselves a year. Okay? I think the whites killing whites, I think it was like 400 for the year.
Yes.
The domestic. Okay? So, look at the correlation here of this insanity. And, got these Black Lives Matter fools going out screaming all this crap about Whitey this, Whitey that. No. you are killing each other. And now they're trying to blame it like some guy, white guys are dressing up in black suits, using charcoal to say that they're, you know, using a fake narrative that they're black and all that. What nincompoops, Mike? And you know, you had 6,000 wounds last year. 6,000. That's insanity. And we don't even know what kind of really the wounds are, amputations, what it is. But it's horrific. Now, and I want to go back to something I read, Mike. I forgot to tell you, and I just remembered it dawned on me. 2 years ago, before the coronavirus happened, they had an article, and I don't know if it was a National Geographic or some magazine. I have to try to see if I can remember it. But they were talking about the Yangtze River in China, how filthy it is. If you have a little cut, if you have a little cut on your body, probably within 2 days, it would be such an infection that they couldn't stop it. Now, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, Mike. I can't remember the figure because it was a couple of years back. So, I do forget figures at times, but I believe I read where there's 60 to 70 million people living on the Yangtze River. You know anything about that?
Well, I know that there are so many chemicals. I know there are so many chemicals in the Yangtze, you can literally develop photographic film with it.
Wow. See, that's something I didn't know. I mean, I just heard how horrific that river is. If you were to if you had a cut on your toe and you dipped your toe in the Yangtze, like within 10 seconds, you might be facing an amputation or something. I mean, I don't know. That's what I read.
It's very bad.
Yes, that's what I heard. So, and then, Mike, listening today, I was watching the news. I don't know if you caught it, but now they're saying there's no cases of coronavirus in New Zealand. Have you heard about that?
No, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that was on one of the news networks today that they had their sporting events. People go to the sporting events, don't wear a mask and stuff. And I'm like, wow, man, that's pretty wild. In New Zealand, I guess they play rugby and all that, and they don't need masks. So they must be doing something right in New Zealand, I guess. Maybe your buddy Dustin can call in and he give us an answer. Well, maybe what's going on over there. I don't think they're wearing a mask over there. And Mike, by the way, these masks, I have to agree with Mark. I don't think these masks are really doing much good, man. Now they're going to the face shield. You see, now they're going to promote face shield. So pretty soon you're going to say you need the earplugs in your ears. You know what I mean? One guy called in today, Mark, on Chris's show, Michael. I forgot his name. I think his name was Tom, too. And he was really an excellent caller as far as explaining under the microscope never tells a lie, is what he said. And wow, this guy was really fun. And he says the virus, coronavirus, because remember, in the Hong Kong flu, Mike, in 1968, that flu only lasted 2 years. By 1970, you didn't hear about the Hong Kong flu anymore. It was called the H3N2. And I guess the guy was saying, and also he said when a dog, he said something about when a dog licks your skin, or he rubs his fur on you, that an animal the animals are actually great protection, because an animal can teach us a lot about these viruses and stuff. Because, you don't see dogs kicking over from coronavirus. You know what I'm saying, Mike?
No, they have their own viruses. Most viruses are species specific.
Yeah, well, this one guy was a really good call. This guy, I think his name was Tom. He's a biologist or something. I hope he calls your show if he's listening. That guy would be a really wonderful call for your audience to listen to, because the guy knew I guess he's in microbiology or something. And he was explaining the microscope never tells a lie when it comes to these viruses and these bugs and all that. So he'd be a good, interesting call for you to have on. Maybe will call in if he's listening. But yeah, Mike, getting back to William Barr, what they did to him the other day, there's no way the Republicans could ever got away doing that, attacking a Democratic AG. There's no way.
No. I mean, they wouldn't even let him take a 5-minute restroom break.
Yeah, I never seen nothing like that. And then, you notice, Mike, they're not putting Adam Schiff out anymore.
Yeah.
They kept in the closet because, Adam Schiff was getting a lot. I believe the Democratic Party got like $8 million donations from this guy, Ed Buck, that was with the two black guys that OD'd on fentanyl.
Yes.
You hear about that guy? You don't hear about that case anymore in the news about this guy, Buck. I guess he got arrested, but they don't tell you what happened with his prison sentence. Have you heard anything about that?
Nope. It was went down the memory hole.
Yeah, I haven't heard nothing about this guy Buck having all these black, Adam Gillum type guys. He's giving them drugs. Gillum here almost got the governorship in Florida, and this guy's a real perv. I mean, Gillum. I don't know if you heard about that guy. being arrested with a male prostitute. Mike, you heard about that guy?
Yep, I heard about that.
Andrew Gillum. Yeah, he's like that guy's a character. But yeah, Mike, the whole thing is nonsense. And a lot of your callers, they call in and they bash Trump, but I tell you, what's the alternative? What is the alternative, Mike? A Biden?
No, I'm in agreement here. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not going to settle for Biden. And I don't care if everybody says that's the way we should go. I'm going with Trump because I don't want Biden in there. And I'm still concerned that Hillary is going to try some kind of a grandstand at the convention this month.
Well, one of the websites today, Mike, had 3 of the picks basically knocked down. Now they got Susan Rice, number 1, Kamala Harris, number 2, and now they have this Karen Bass, number 3. Have you heard about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard about that. I know they're pushing Susan Rice very, very hard.
Yeah, they want Susan Rice now. She looks like she may be the one to go to, or it could be Kamala. But and this Karen Bass, and then I believe the last one is this Demings in Florida, because they think they can carry Florida big time if they get Demings on the ticket. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting here. We'll know in the next couple of days. By Monday, I believe you're going to hear an announcement about Biden's pick.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be. I think it's going to be Kamala. Who knows? It could be Hillary. You never know. It wouldn't shock me. Who knows what Biden will do, or Pocahontas might be warned. But anyway, that's all I got to say, Mike. I know you got probably other callers, and I'll let Claire get back to unless I want to listen to her. And thank you for taking my call. You guys have a wonderful weekend. That's all I got to say.
All right, same to you, and same to you. We're going to listen to the lovely lady Claire. You've got another story waiting for us?
Yes, I do. Rather strange. Okay. This is described, and again, I do commend another blog to you. It's called zerohedge.com. It's a collective. I believe it's out of the UK. But apparently, our defense director, Esper, made the comment, NATO's purpose is to avoid peace in Europe. I looked at that and I thought, tell me, is this just Trump-style bluntness of naked and brutal honesty, no matter how non-PC? And apparently during Wednesday's press conference, announcing the controversial Trump-ordered Pentagon plan to withdraw 12,000 troops from Germany, Mark Esper said that the importance of NATO lies in part with its mission to avoid peace in Europe. I can't believe that came out of this man's mouth. Given the slip, of course, the Russian media was fast to pick up on it. And in fact, RT Russia Today, to which I link, said it was a momentary lapse of honesty.
Yes.
And he also said, I've said that very publicly. I've said that very privately to my counterparts as well about the importance of NATO, any alliance sharing the burden so we can all deter Russia and avoid peace in Europe, Esper said. It came while the Pentagon chief chastised Germany for being the wealthiest country in Europe, but refusing to shoulder what the U.S. considers should be its fair share of defense spending.
Send us money, we'll send you bombs.
Right,
we'll send you
right.
F-35s.
Oh,
they're
dear.
neat.
Oh, boy. Which the Trump administration has long urged Berlin has to boost. And about half of these troops are coming back to the U.S., and the other will be repositioned in other places in Europe. I really have to wonder if Esper meant this. What are your thoughts?
I have a feeling it was a Freudian slip,
okay,
where he meant to say maintain the peace in Europe.
Yeah.
But we all know that NATO has become an aggressor force.
Yeah.
We're working on behalf of the United States to try and stir up trouble with Russia.
People in leadership in Europe are not going to sleep any better for him having said this.
Well, I'm sure they're already aware of what the U.S. long-term agenda is. The U.S., every time the U.S. gets into an economic mess, they get into a world war to get out of it. Crash of 1907, World War I. Crash of 1929, World War II. Crash of 2008, and here we are on the doorstep. Yeah,
I know. The ferocity of the people who really seem to want a war, any war, is just amazing. It reminds me of the second Sherlock Holmes film with Morton Downey Jr.
Yes,
Robert Downey Jr., where the character of Sherlock says to the bad guy, Moriarty, you want a lock on the bullets and the bandages, don't you?
Yes, you've bought the supply, now you've got to create the demand.
Yeah, Exactly, exactly. Now, the Netherlands did something that kind of makes you go, the Netherlands is refusing to mandate mask wearing in public. Now, American public health experts, led by Dr. Anthony Fauci, have struggled over the past couple of months to push a very specific narrative to the public, where wearing a mask doesn't so much protect you from being infected with SARS-CoV-2, but if you are infected, wearing a mask could stop you from passing the virus to someone else. Now, mainstream media has backed up these assertions with vague references to science and research, while a coalition of celebrities and progressive activists have tried to tar anyone who might doubt this narrative, or worse, refuses to wear a mask at all times outside their home, is a denier.
And that's the code word. Holocaust denier, climate denier, mask denier. Oh, you don't want to be with those people. I think all these people own stock in the companies that make these things. Anyway, we're going to take another break for commercial, and we will be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the telephones to Al in Canada. Hello, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Al, are you there?
Yep, I'm here now.
I can hear you. You're on the air.
Yep, thank you. I wanted to mention Seth Rogen. I don't know whether Claire was going to talk about him or mention him. Were you, Claire?
I don't think so, but I did hear kind of the ruckus about some of the things he had to say.
Yeah. So he's a Canadian. He went to school in Canada, and he went to Jewish schools, and everything that they told him about Israel was a lie. Why would they do that?
Well,
that guy's career's over.
Can you be more specific? What did he say that ended his career?
Well, I'm saying his career is now going to be over because of this, because of coming out and saying these things.
I believe he made a comment to the effect that Israel shouldn't exist, was what he said.
Oh, that definitely is going to end his career.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's done. He's done. And it's kind of funny. Well, I mean, it's not funny, but it's just kind of funny because it happened up in Canada, right? His schooling. And I'm just curious, when I was a kid, which was actually a long time
ago. Same here.
Yeah, I was never taught anything about some kind of Holocaust. I didn't really hear about that until I was around 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
Like 17, 18, 19 area, right? And I'm not that old. But one of the things, well, I remember that Donahue show that had David Cole on talking about this.
I remember
That's
David.
actually what kind of opened my eyes. So, since then, I mean, I've actually gone to libraries and read up on some of the stuff with the older encyclopedias, Encyclopedia Britannia and that sort of thing. The new stuff, of course, has probably been altered or changed to.
Well, there's no question about that. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, Israel's entire justification for stealing the Palestinians' land for their homeland rests on that idea that there was a deliberate extermination campaign targeting just them in World War II, which is really interesting because in the autobiographies of Winston Churchill and Truman and Eisenhower, there's not a mention about a deliberate extermination campaign whatsoever. And so it's probably the big lie of our generation. And anytime we question what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, they come out and they say, Holocaust, Holocaust, you want another Holocaust, you want Hitler to come back. And it's like, I'm on Hitler burnout. I don't want to hear any more about the guy. I don't want to hear about the guy anymore.
Well, there's obviously an agenda.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Al.
It's illegal to say such thing. Up here in Canada, it's just illegal to say anything bad about now Israel.
Yeah.
Or or the leaders. I mean, even make it political. So, you know, we're done up here. The Brene Brown and all these JDL and all those other ones. There's so many of them.
Oh, they're trying to do that down here in the United States as well. And of course, it flies right in the face of the First Amendment, which Israel absolutely hates. And we have a legitimate right to criticize government, any government, all government, government in our country, government in other countries. And certainly in Washington, D.C. wants us criticizing Beijing and Moscow. But, oh, don't you dare criticize Tel Aviv. Oh, I'm sorry, Jerusalem. They keep moving that around. And there's a quote that's attributed to Molière, although it probably originated elsewhere, that said, to find out who really rules over you, find out who you're not allowed to criticize.
Great line. Great line.
That is, that's like, I mean, that pretty much sums up humanity's history.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It really does. These psychopaths, you know, they had these control mechanisms in place. One of them, of course, is economics, right?
Yes.
And one of the last ones for them to actually kind of gain control over was social media. I'm sure something else will happen. And I can't say enough about Donald Trump looking at that and say, you aren't social media, you censor. That makes you an editor. Now you can be sued.
Yes.
That was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And people say that Donald Trump hasn't done anything. He's done a lot. And when you're being persecuted the way he has, and you have, you know, you obviously have a minority in Congress, so they're going to throw everything at you, these Democrats. I think he's done a lot. He's done a lot more than the leader in our country.
I wish you'd done a little bit more. Anyway, Al, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We have another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones here to Dustin in New Jersey. Hello, Dustin. Welcome back to the show. What's on your mind today?
Real men don't wear masks, Mike. Isn't that what Mark said not too long ago? Here lies Herman Cain. Okay? Here lies Herman Cain, died with his boots on and his mask off.
Yeah, but he had some other underlying medical conditions as well.
Yeah, but Mike, he didn't go to that rally. Or if he kept his mask on and they social distance, he'd probably still be alive today.
Well, we don't really know that. We don't really know that. We know that a lot of deaths, that, you know, if people die with COVID-19, it's blamed on COVID-19. But Cain had a lot of other medical problems as well, and he may have just been ready to die anyway.
Yeah, but you can't go by that because 2 weeks after he left the rally, he put himself in the hospital. He wasn't feeling very well. I know he has cancer he beat and diabetes, but maybe he could have lived another 20 years. You know?
Yeah.
But Mike, you know, being from New Jersey, we have a spike in cases here again because people are being reckless. But like I said, masks do help. No matter what Mark claims or Alex Jones or any of these other people. Masks help slow the spread with heavy particles coming out of your mouth or nose, not aerosols. Depends on the mask also.
Yeah.
You know? But here's the thing, Mike. Like, do you notice, though, after that Tulsa rally, where was the next one? He canceled it, right? In New Hampshire, I believe, right? And then he obviously canceled the Florida convention. But, you know what makes me, it actually pisses me off? You got the morons on the left having protests. You know, yeah, they have masks on, but, you know, masks that are a percentage work. And then you got people on the right, like Trump, are having these rallies. So both sides is stupid, you know? And Claire,
well, you know, part of the problem is, you know, we're all being told the masks are going to work, the masks are going to work. Now we're being told, no, the masks don't work, that you need to have eye goggles and a face shield. So I wish they'd make up their mind. I think this is all about selling products, selling face masks. I mean, down at our local supermarket, they've got a whole rack. You know, it's become a cottage industry where people are making face masks out of fabrics. Some of the weave on these fabrics is just gigantic. It's like trying to stop a mosquito with a chain link fence. and it's all about making more money.
I have a gas mask, so that's your face shield and your mask, right?
Well, good that you've got that, but not everybody can find or afford one of those things. I mean, when this first started up, I went down to the hardware store and I said, I want the full, protective mask. And I said, nope, we sold out. They're gone.
Well, Mike, you know how big the NBC filters are. They're pretty good size.
Yes.
But I bought, there's a P3 particle one that's a third of the size, and it's an ULPA filter, which they use in clean rooms. It just filters out viruses. That's it. So it's
okay.
thick. But Mike, I'm going to get, New Zealand has 1,560 cases, 22 deaths. So they have 1,510 maybe that are, I guess, well, the remaining is maybe still in the hospital. Brazil's not looking good, Mike. 2.5 million infected. They got 90-something thousand people that are like dead. And that's not counting the south of Brazil. And Spain, did you hear about Spain? The 60%, people are saying 60% underreported in Spain for their death. But, yeah. But I'm going to, Mike, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but those doctors, that the woman, she was fired, did anybody actually look into the background of any of these people?
Justin, you tried to do this the other day here, and it really didn't hold up where you said they'd only been around for a couple of weeks, and then, of course, we had another caller who called on in and said that, in point of fact, that we were dealing with doctors with like 30-year careers. And, Dustin, Dustin, I'm getting so many emails asking what the heck happened to you, because you used to be one of the most skeptical people of what was coming down with officialdom. And all of a sudden, ever since COVID-19, you are just right on board with the official story about everything. And a lot of people are scratching their heads and figuring what's going on here. I'll tell you what we're going to do here. We're going to break our normal rule. We've got Mark in North Carolina who wants to respond to you. And I'm going to put you two on the air together. But I'm going to say, if you start getting disrespectful and name calling, I'm going to cut you both off, okay? So, Mike.
As YouTube channel.
Okay, Mark, are you there?
I'm right here.
Okay, well, you wanted to respond to Dustin.
Sure do. Well, first of all, let's talk about Herman Cain. The man had all kinds of different medical problems, evidently. Now, I was shocked at first, too, but then I remembered he had been a cancer patient, stage 4 cancer, and obviously he had other problems. Okay? Now, the fact of the matter is he could have worn all the masks he wanted, and it still wasn't a very wise thing to do, to go to any kind of gatherings like that, even if the flu was just going on there, because it would be a danger to a guy in that condition. That's obviously a danger. Okay? He probably shouldn't have gone to it. But again, he could have worn a full bodysuit, maybe a spaceman suit, and he still would have been safe. So the other thing is,
but the flu wasn't going around.
The matter is, wait.
Justin, the flu is going around.
That's not the flu.
Yeah.
Coronavirus is not the flu.
The same thing.
It's part of the class of cold. It's not
all
a
right.
flu.
Okay, yeah. Excuse me. Okay, a cold. That's not even as bad as a flu. Right?
It's in the cold family.
Unless there's a biological weapon.
One at a time, gentlemen. One at a time.
But Dustin, listen to this, okay? Many doctors have come out and said masks are bad for you. Not only don't they help you, but they actually hurt you, okay? They don't protect you from anything, but the fact of the matter is you suck in your carbon dioxide, you suck it, you deprive yourself of oxygen. I talk to people when I go to some of these grocery stores. I do tend sometimes to put on a mask now just for a few minutes, okay? And I hate it. It's disgusting. It feels horrible. And I tell these guys at the grocery store, you guys ought to strike. Get a union and say, we're not going to do this.
Mark,
okay?
Carbon dioxide levels that you breathe in is minuscule. That's been
debunked. It's not minuscule. I saw this thing. They did some tests already, right?
Okay, one at a time. It's Dustin's turn. One at a time. Mark, got to let Dustin have his turn.
You know that study, they did the test with the N95. N95 being of a heavier material than a average breathable, the breathable mask, the cloth mask, which you can drive a truck through, right? N95 and the carbon dioxide levels were the minuscule that you breathe in, okay?
Yeah, but I have to step in here because I did a test on the N95 masks the other day where I was able to blow cigar smoke right through them. And smoke particles are much, much larger than the virus particles. So even the N95s are not going to be protecting you.
That's what they were in the hospital.
Well, they've got good salespeople.
And a lot of doctors are questioning whether those masks are even doing any good in the hospitals, okay? Why don't you go to Dr. Well, go to Rashid Buttar, okay? He talks about these masks all the time, how harmful they are. He's as good a doctor as you're going to find. What about Dr. Shiva? You ever hear of Dr. Shiva? You ever go to his sites? Okay? And why do they throw Del Bigtree off of YouTube now? Because they don't like being challenged, okay? The establishment doesn't like being challenged. These masks do you no good. They're harmful, Dustin. Don't you understand that? Personally, I don't care if somebody puts a diaper in their head. That's their business. But don't tell me I got to do it, all right?
Well,
I don't like it. It's reasonable to me. That's absolutely reasonable to me. Dustin, Mark has hit it right on the head. If you want to wear a mask, go ahead. And you can go about your life thinking that you're protected from this virus. There are those of us who don't think it really is all that effective. We've read the warnings on the boxes that say ineffective against viruses. So we're just going to make our own choices as free citizens here. So anyway, Dustin and Mark, we're going to let you both go. The phone lines are loading up. And thank you very much. And we're going to switch over to Ken in New York. Hello, Ken. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, I'm so glad you made a comment. I don't like to comment about other people, but I'm getting dehydrated from all these urinating contests. I'd rather let you there.
Okay.
Okay. And I think one thing that could help here is if he would if Trump would ask the head of the FDA right now to kindly resign. I think that would slow some of this nonsense down with the chloroquine and some of the other inhalants. There is another inhalant you might want to look into. I've mentioned it elsewhere. It's called Albuterol. It's even older than it was mentioned. Yeah. You do have to be careful with it. I was misdiagnosed with asthma about 20 years ago, so they gave me some of it, and it makes your heart beat like a trip hammer.
Yes.
But it does, it does what it's supposed to do. It's just if you go to the emergency room, they give you too much of it. But it may very well, and it can go in a nebulizer. And there's always silver.
That's true. That's what we use.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Same to you. And we're going to switch over to Steve Elkins. Steve, welcome back to the show. What's on your mind today?
Well, I got to say, Mark hit that one right on the head. He wins the debate between Dustin, and I agree with you. I'm actually very happy that you and others are calling out Dustin. He's doom and gloom, and he wants to impose his will on everybody that you almost wear the mask. But, I think he's been watching too much TV, because that's actually the narrative, what they're talking about on TV. We are all in this together, which means everybody must comply and wear the mask. And I had my confrontation yesterday with Walmart. And they suggested that it was mandatory and you must. And I said, you haven't watched the news lately, and you probably should go catch up on the newest update here, because, no, I don't have to wear it. I don't have to give you an excuse why. I don't have to tell you about a medical condition. It's simply my choice not to wear the mask, and I'm not going to do it. And I saw like 7 people that decided not to wear the mask also. But, people like Dr. Joseph Mercola have been deplatformed. Many fine doctors who actually have come out with some very good information on the virus itself and the mask issue. And they're being deplatformed. They're being pushed off, which is because there has to be one narrative only. They are the experts, and I'm getting tired of people who are calling themselves experts who have no medical background whatsoever, and there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
And versus those who are actually in the medical field, who see what's going on, and who can actually give a better description of what's really, really going on here. But I noticed also that it's the hypocrisy of the rules for you, but we're exceptional, and we don't have to follow the rules. With John Lewis's funeral. Now, the funeral, we're being told out here, you can have 10, and that's it. No more than 10 at a funeral. If somebody dies in your family, you can't have 10. I'm not sure if somebody shows up, they count the number, law enforcement, and then disperses the crowd. But I think we saw that violated with the John Lewis funeral. And that's how you spot the lies. That's how you spot the fraud itself, is because it's the exceptionalism that they cling to. It's for you little people, and we are exceptional, and we don't have to follow that rule. That's how you find the lie. Now, there are also some doctors who came out. One of them just got fired for coming out talking about the hydroxychloroquine, and using zinc and Zithromax to use on patients who are COVID positive with a great success rate. And of course, she was deplatformed, fired from her job. See, this is how you know.
Yes.
That's a scam going on here, because they get rid of people that get attention and that actually have some knowledge. She was a 20-plus year ER physician. So, yeah, I think she kind of knows what she's talking about here.
I would agree.
I'm tired of the self-proclaimed experts. Everybody's an expert who's not an expert. A guy who does computer software is an expert, you know, and we are not hearing from the true experts. We're hearing from people who want to claim they are experts, and the media is running with those people because they can't put the real experts on.
Well, like I said, this is all about money. There's billions of dollars at stake on a coronavirus treatment, and that's what they're really trying to push us through to.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you one thing. I did find some new commerce out there, some COVID commerce, that's probably going to really sweep through businesses that survive, if they survive, is the COVID-19 certificate of sanitation. And I saw one at my pet groomers the other day. First time I've ever seen one. And I'm sure it's going to fly out there. Everybody's going to have one of these. This is some new commerce, or you must get the certification, which means an agency will now be formed. They'll have to come out, you know, do their little surveys, and you pay money to them. You get the certificate, put it in the window. Another round, another whole issue of another opportunity to make some money off this COVID-19. And it'll be kind of like your Board of Health. That little sticker is in the window. Your Board of Health certified. You are now COVID-19 certified, and now people will say, I can go in there and shop. I feel comfortable and safe shopping in this business because they have that little sticker in the window. They are COVID-19 certified. So there's some new revenue coming in right there.
Sort of like the old mafia protection racket. As long as you got the sticker in the window, nothing bad going to happen to you. You know, got a nice dog grooming shop here. Be a shame if something happened to it. Anyway, anything else, Steve?
That's it for me, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Norm in Georgia. Hello, Norm. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Michael. One thing I would like to say is this. What a lot of people are missing is the fact that there's a large number of antibacterial and antiviral proteins that are present in human saliva. One of these proteins is called GP340.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it binds to and aggregates a variety of bacteria and viruses.
Okay.
So even if you breathe in, COVID, the human saliva has these proteins. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a firm believer in that these mask is not really sufficient, adequate prevention of COVID when basically in your saliva you already have antiviral proteins in there that prevent you from getting COVID. And I don't even know if a lot of people even realize this.
Well, I mean, your body does have a lot of defenses, and we're seeing people that do not have other compromising health conditions seem to survive COVID-19 much better than they're surviving the current flu. And we're not seeing the corporate media talk about the numbers from the current flu that's going around here because more people are getting sick and dying from that than COVID-19. But COVID-19 is the big scary demon that we have to wave at everybody to get them to stay home and vote by mail or get them to buy masks and eye goggles and face shields and all the rest of the stuff we're going to try and sell them.
Yeah, and one other thing, this supposedly this GP340 that is one of the antiviral proteins in your saliva. It is basically soluble in saliva, and it can function as a specific inhibitor of infectivity of even HIV-1 and influenza.
Okay.
I think this, so I think this is basically, like you said before, it's a scare technique or tactic that, everything is about money. If you follow, and you've said this before, if you follow the money, you can find the truth.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Follow the money. Look at who's making money off of all the scare campaigns, whether it's, COVID certificates or face masks or goggles or whatever, and they keep moving the goalposts. We've sold enough face masks. Now we got to sell them something else. And ultimately, of course, there'll be a vaccine they're going to sell us. And they're already saying it's not going to last all that long. So you're going to have the vaccine every once in a while at huge cost. If you have COVID-19, there'll be a treatment to treat the symptoms, but not cure the disease, that will also be required on a regular, ongoing basis. It's all about the business model of modern medicine, which is treatment over cure. Anyway, listen, Norm, we need to let you go. We got a couple more callers, and we're almost out of time here. So let's go to Joe in Nome. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I was wondering if you had ever looked into that Noah's Ark discovery in eastern Turkey, and if you think that might play into something about what's going on over there with the Kurds.
Well, there have been a lot of people claiming to have found Noah's Ark or remnants or fragments of it, and none of them have withstood archaeological scrutiny. So at this point, I'm not sure that really is a factor in what's going on over there. I think basically Turkey, they're talking about reviving the caliphate, and I think Erdogan is starting to get imperialistic ambitions.
Well, apparently you've never been to arkdiscovery.com.
No, I haven't.
In 1978, this guy's Ron Wyatt, okay? And he's got a bunch of other archaeological sites documented as well. Furthermore, he apparently has...
Okay, well, Joe, we're almost out of time. So let me just finish up by saying I don't consider museums that are put together by religious organizations as legitimate scientific foundations. They're basically propagandistic. I remember
you haven't been there. You haven't been there.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much. We're going to let you go. Thank you very much, and switch over to Hunter in Virginia. Hello, Hunter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, I think you're exactly right when you talked about your cigar smoke test with the mask. You think about what a mask is made of and all the ones you've seen out there, and then think about a condom. If you read the box on a box of condoms, it tells you right there on there, it doesn't protect you against a number of sexually transmitted diseases, and many of those are viruses.
Yes.
So having a mask that doesn't fit, air is going to leak. It's, really a waste of time. I've been a pharmacist for 20-some years. And what I've been hearing lately, as far as hazard to the mask, has been coming from a lot of the doctors in the patient first type places, Doc in a Box, and some of the other eye doctors. They say especially people that are wearing glasses are getting a lot of eye infections because you're breathing out, all that air is blowing up under your glasses onto your eye.
Yes.
So
we noticed that.
Obviously not stopping particles, and that's been going around too. That's just one of the hazards that you can, get from wearing these things for extended periods of time. There's no mask that's made or intended to be worn all day that I'm aware of.
No, I don't think so. They're being worn all day. We're being told to wear them all day, you know, in like the first responders and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, after a while, if they're actually working, if you think about it, if they're actually working, they're trapping all these viruses. And so after a certain point of time, you're literally going to have this petri dish full of viruses strapped to the front of your mouth. That doesn't strike me as being particularly healthy. And at that point, yes, you should be replacing the mask.
You should. And then what do you do with the mask? I mean, in a normal medical situation, you'd be putting that in the, you know, biohazard bag. And that's a special $5 trash you've got to pay for to be disposed of properly and handled properly.
Absolutely.
So it's a big mess. This whole thing's a big mess. I have filled some prescriptions for some people that had COVID or something like it, and filled it for the hydroxychloroquine. I recommended, you know, also to take, you know, get some over-the-counter vitamin D and a multivitamin that had some zinc in it, and they all did fine. So,
well, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, they all did fine. You know, it's a shame that it's come down to this, but you're right about that business model too, because it is all about the money. I believe Walgreens pharmacy chain was the first chain to do widespread pharmacy-based immunizations back in early 2000s. I believe. Anyway, we're bragging to everybody that they made an extra $20-some million just off of the shots. And after that, it was monkey see, monkey do, and everybody jumped on it. So anytime you walk in a drugstore, they chase you around with a needle trying to stick something in you.
All right. Well, listen, Hunter, I'm going to have to let you go. And my apologies to the remaining callers we're not going to get to. Have a good weekend. We should be hearing some music here momentarily. Anyway, there it is. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We need your help. We're basically overhauling our studios. And have a good weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Aloha, America.